Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of Nice Guys Don't Finish Last. I'm your host, Cam Green, and I actually kind of have something in store for you guys. So, for those of you that are listening to my podcast on on Spotify or Google Play or Apple Podcasts, I've actually made a video now, and I'm actually recording as we speak. I figured out how to use my laptop in a meaningful way, and I figured out how to record on my laptop for the first time in probably 2 years, 3 years. I've had this laptop since 2017, so about 3 years. And I figured out this week how to record myself on my laptop. So the big surprise for all of you is that I've decided to record my podcast live, actual video and audio at the same time. So I was really hinting towards it, in my earlier episodes, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, obviously. But it was more of I made excuses as to why I didn't have video attached to it because I didn't have the equipment or I didn't have the funds to fund that equipment or things like that. And I just kind of made excuses along the way. And also, I didn't really take the time to try and figure it out. And, during this whole quarantine stuff, which I don't really want to get into, it's part of what we're going to talk about, but I don't really want to beat a dead horse. I figured it out. I took the time to really figure out how to do all this stuff. It took me hours on end to really edit it and figure things out. So that's my big surprise. It's actually going to be going up on YouTube today. It's not my first video up on YouTube. I actually, like 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I wanted to vlog. And I did that in college and I uploaded a couple episodes. They were super long, but I also didn't have the means to edit those either. And I eventually deleted them. There's one up there, I think, still about me and my friends, and that's just a cool video that we came put together. So, but yeah, that's just the news that I have been sharing on my Instagram and all my social media platforms is that I came up with a video for this podcast, and so this is episode 6, but this is going to be the first episode of me actually doing it live, which I'm super excited about, and I'm actually having a hard time looking at the camera because I'm so used to just talking to the phone with the audio. So now I have to actually look at a camera, and it's kind of messing me up a little bit, but it's okay. I'm not sure how the sound quality on the video is going to turn out, but hopefully it actually won't be as bad as I think it will. It could be worse, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So yeah, I made a YouTube. I've had a YouTube. It's called Nice Guys Don't Finish Last, of course, and you can find it. Link will be in my Instagram and other social media handles. So again, I made this video because I wanted people to have a face to a name. I have a bunch of my friends, but also people I don't know that listen to my podcast. What a bunch is for me is like 50 to 100 people. Now, obviously, that's not a lot, but for someone who's doing this as a hobby, that is a lot for me. And I appreciate everyone that does listen to this and shares it because it really helps me and motivates me to do more. Again, I know the last time I posted was March 8th. And that's just, with everything going on, like I just wanted to focus on stuff. And I didn't get lazy this time. I really just was more like kind of figuring out what was going on in the world right now. And that's really important. And then, so now that we're here, really just kind of getting into all this, I've took the time to figure it out. So anyway, that's enough of an intro. And here we go on to the episode. So the title of this episode is called Balance. I'm sorry, I'm really trying to get myself to look at this camera. It's really challenging. I have my notebook here. I have my phone next to me, and I have my Xbox controller, which is why you probably see the TV in the background. This is not my place. This is my place, but this is my parents' home, one of them, and I just decided to come down here for while we're in quarantine because I was losing my mind in Philadelphia, so I decided to come here and do it this way. So the title of this episode is called Balance. And the reason why it's called Balance is because, I've been looking at, this whole quarantine thing as a way for people to reset their lives. And I don't want to say reset, in a bad way. I really do think it's a good thing. It's a reset for everyone to, I don't want to say learn a new skill or do something different, but reevaluate what you were doing before that either A, wasn't working, or B, it was working, but not to the capacity that you wanted it to be, right? So that's what I have written down here. It's called balance because I'm starting to figure out the balance that I need in my life, right? So for those of you that don't know, if this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning guest, thank you. If you're new, go and listen to my first episode. It is on Anchor, and it's also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Just type in "Night Skies Don't Finish Last" and it should come up. And for my audio people, this is more for the video because this is going up on YouTube with more of an audience. So that's where you can find it. And the links will also be in the description below. My social media handles will be in the description below, things like that. But it's called balance because honestly, for me, I realized that I wasn't in a place of being balanced, right? So let's just say that I went through some things, right? And I might not be as vulnerable or open in this episode, but a lot of people said they really appreciated my me being genuine about being open about my life experiences, right? And that's what I did in the first episode. I really talked about like my life and how I felt most of the time. So I talked about that a lot, and it got a lot of really good feedback. So I might do it here, might not. Depends how I'm feeling right now. Well, nah, actually, you know what? We're gonna do it anyway. I know a lot of people try and also tend to say don't give everyone a little bit of everything, but that's what makes me me. That's what makes this podcast special to me because I don't feel vulnerable. I feel like I'm just sharing an experience. Someone is playing golf and they almost just okay. So sorry to go off on tangent, but there's a golf course that's right there, so I can see people playing and they actually hit their ball on our side of the yard. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So anyway, so I went through some things, right? And I realized I needed balance and with multiple reasons. I went through some things and that elicited a very strong reaction from me that wasn't very positive, right? And it really did affect me and bothered me a lot. And so, I lost my anger with someone, and I still to this day kind of wish I didn't get that upset. Like I really wish I didn't get that upset. I can sit there and say that I deserve to be upset, which I do or did, not anymore, but I lost my cool a little bit too much. And it kind of was like, why did I let myself get that angry? You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't have elicited that much of a reaction, especially that much of a negative reaction with someone that I care about. But I sat back and tried to figure out why it bothered me so much, right? Why what happened angered me that much. And at first I couldn't sit there and figure out. I'm literally looking there like, what is it? Why does it elicit a reaction from me like that? And then so I was like, all right, let me go back to the basics, right? Let me go back, right? What about me elicits that kind of anger from me? When I don't get things right on the first try, I get a little irritated because I expect a little bit more from myself, and things not working out, honestly, after I put some effort in. That kind of stuff bothers me. And I'm patient in some areas and I'm not patient in others. And so I was trying to figure out like, okay, where in my life do I elicit some sort of impatience, right? And I get angry or irritated because of that. Lifting is one of them. I love going to the gym. If people who don't know, if you're new here, pre-quarantine, I was in the gym every day, 7 days a week, 3 hours a day. That's just what I do. I love the gym. I'm not a personal trainer, so don't come ask me about all that stuff. I didn't go to school for that, but I do know what I'm talking about. But so there's some things about lifting that really bother me, and certain exercises I don't do well with, right? So it was one of those things where I'm like, all right, let me take lifting as an example, right? And I actually have this written down in my notes. This is the first time I've also written down things for my podcast. I usually do all this off here and off the fly, but I decided to do this, right? And so I looked at this and I was trying to figure out what about the area of lifting or bodybuilding that bothered me, right? Me personally, not everyone else, but me. And I realized there's certain muscle groups that I struggle with a little bit more, right? So I struggle with biceps a little bit more. I'm a tall person. I'm 6'4", for those of you who don't know. For tall people, it's hard to gain muscle. It really is. But the blessing on the other side is that it's not that hard. It's difficult for us to really be obese. It's kind of hard. It's a little bit harder, but It's also your genetics different. That's a different topic. So biceps was one, and I used to struggle with legs, but then I really pushed myself to do legs like 2 or 3 times a week, and my legs blew up, right? But I was like, okay, what exercises bother me that I don't when I don't do well? And my most frustrating lift, I think, is probably my squat. My squat is one of the most frustrating things for me because I know I have to go back to basics when I do it. It can be frustrating, right? So I went back to basics on the squat, and I try to figure out like what about my squat that doesn't work, right? Okay, I don't have the ankle mobility. My left ankle, for those of you that don't know, I broke my leg my senior year of high school back like 6 years ago, and it'll be 6 years this year in September. And I have screws in my ankle, and that will ultimately affect my mobility for the rest of my life in my ankle. It doesn't really matter how much I stretch or whatever the case may be. It's always going to be like it might always be like that and I also don't have feeling on top of my ankle. And a little section, I don't have feeling there, and that is of course where I need the ankle mobility. I know you feel in your Achilles and back there, but on top you also need it as well because on the top of your foot you can contract the muscles in your feet to plant yourself on the ground. And so I don't have that, right? So that was the first thing. And then also with a broken leg, like, my left side is a little bit weaker than my right. So having that muscle strength, right? And then the one thing I also overlooked was hip flexor strength, right? So I looked at all those things and I'm like, yo, like these things I have to fix in order to get my squat correct, right? And a tighter, stronger core. But I'm also getting the calisthenics, right? And this guy that I follow, Chris Harrier, I've been following for about a year or so. Within probably like the last month and a half, I've really been taking his stuff seriously. But there's certain exercises that I can't do. So like the L sit. The L sit is just exactly how it sounds. You sit straight up and you hold your legs straight out in front of you and up off the ground. So you basically hold your body in the L shape, just using your arms. And I struggle with it. I struggle with the squat. I struggle because I don't have the core strength. I'm working on my flexibility, which is a big issue. But I also don't have the hip flexor strength to keep my legs up in that position. And all that stuff, is very frustrating for me. So with all that being said, I took that exact method and used it into my life, right? So I broke down things in my life that from basically when I can conceive a rational thought, probably like 6 or 7 to about now. And I realized there are some things in my life that I never addressed, and those things that I never addressed elicit that anger, emotion, or that reaction from me. So then I asked myself, why does it do that? And I figured it out, and it's something that really bothers me. It's something that it feeds into my insecurities as a human being. I realize I'm talking really fast, so I'm sorry, but I realize that it comes from my insecurities. And for me personally, I was never a judgmental person growing up. I never judged anybody. But then somewhere down the road, the same thing kept happening to me, and I just got to the point where I was like, why do people do what they do? And then when I started asking myself that question, I realized, okay, well, I wouldn't do that. And no, like I like myself. So if you don't do it this way, I don't really like. I'm judging you a little bit. I'm just going to be flat out honest. I'm judging you because it doesn't make sense to me. So therefore, I think it's stupidity, which isn't always true, and that's something that I have to admit to myself. Just because I would do it doesn't mean it's wrong or right. You know what I mean, or bad or good. It's just what someone does, right? But I became a judgmental person based off of my insecurities. And so basically I discovered all that and I realized I have to go back to basics. I have to achieve balance by openly addressing the stuff from my past that really bothers me or that elicits some sort of emotional reaction from me. And the reason why is because I looked at calisthenics and weightlifting and again correlated the two. with the reason why I wanted to get into calisthenics is because I wanted to learn how to master my body weight and balance and do 360 muscle ups, handstand push ups, planches, L-sits, things like that. I wanted to learn how to do this for a long time, but I didn't have the physical balance to do so. So then I started thinking about, okay, well, if I can master calisthenics and master my body weight and my balance, that means my lifts in the gym with my actual progressive overload lifts or compound lifts will be that much better. My squat will get better. My deadlift and sumo deadlift will get better. My hip thrust will get better. Pull-ups, bench press, all that stuff is connected, so it will get better. But I have to start back from the beginning, even though I've been lifting for God knows how long. I've been really taking it seriously the last 3 or so years. But I've been lifting because, college lifting is not the same as post-grad lifting. It's not nearly the same because I make myself look very small right now. But I've been taking it seriously for so long, but I realized that the simplest answer is just to go back and just do the basics. And it's the same thing with trying to do that with your life, right? And I realized that I have to do that. I always find myself being in areas where I'm excelling in one area, but then I'm neglecting another. So basically, I'm working a lot, but then I don't do my podcast and things like that. And then I ask myself, why am I not doing so? And that's because I haven't mastered balancing everything together. So, and I realized this chapter of my life is called balance because I need to learn how to do so. I need to learn how to balance. Well, I don't plan on being one in a long time and for a while now, but I need to learn how to balance a relationship. I need to learn how to balance work, like physical work, like my job. But then I also need to learn how to balance fun. I need to learn how to balance my hobbies I like to do on my own time. I need to learn how to balance my emotions as well, like love and my love, anger, sadness, all that. It all has to be balanced because if the scale is tipped to one side, that means there's another aspect or area of your life that you're neglecting. And so for me, to be completely honest with you guys, this whole COVID-19 thing happened. And at first I was like, all right, it's happening. Okay, I get it. And then they shut the gyms down. And that's when I was like, all right, hold on. I don't know if I can go along with this because the gym is like my sanctuary. If I don't go to the gym all day, I feel like I didn't do anything, even if I work for 10 plus hours. That's not how that, I just don't, me personally, that's not how that works, right? But I realized that I needed to work on balancing my life out. So the steps I'm taking. So for those of you that are new, and I know there are people that have listened, and you can listen to my first episode where I talked about this stuff. But I started a gaming channel on Mixer. My username is Camo CAMO 23. I'm going to be streaming a whole bunch of games. Right now, I'm streaming Call of Duty because it's hot right now, and me and my buddies are really good at Warzone. And I'm tough at multiplayer. If you want to hop on the sticks, we can definitely do that. But I'm also streaming other things. I stream GTA, Forza Horizon 4, Left 4 Dead. I play everything for the most part. Everything except sports games. Do not ask me to play 2K, Chell, MLB, Madden. Don't ask me none of that because I'll be honest with you, I suck. So let's just throw that out there. So I started my gaming channel. I did this. I started making actual videos for my podcast, which this is becoming a lot easier for me now. I realize that I'm doing this and it feels natural, except looking at this camera. I did that. The modeling, I started to take that more seriously now. I actually contacted my guy the other day and said, look, when this is over, I want to hit the ground running. And then with work, actual work, I sell solar, and I'm really just trying to push my job and really help people save money and things like that. And that's not, I'm not trying to advertise that, but I'm just saying I really, and with lifting, not being able to go to the gym, I have to do home workouts. And I've accepted the fact that, yes, I'm going to lose a little bit of weight. We're approaching summertime. I can't really progressive overload because I don't have barbell sets yet. But I don't have that kind of stuff, so I can only do so much. But it's still something, right? I'm still physically active. But I'm learning how to balance all that. And I realized, even just on this podcast alone, that I've been doing that. I'm really just balancing everything out. And then lastly, my emotions. yes, I still get irritated thinking about the stuff that's in my head, and then on top of this COVID stuff going on. But at the end of the day, I live in Philly, and I drove 2.5 hours to my parents' beach house, and that's not. I'm not trying to brag, but that's just whatever. If you're gonna hate, cool, whatever. Uh, and I stayed here a couple of days, and then I noticed the difference between me being here and me being in Philly. In Philly, it was a lot of concrete. I felt suffocated, and it just wasn't. It wasn't a good fit for me. So I came down here, and I've been down here for 2 weeks, and I'm lucky enough to be able to say I can do that. But it's also mentally freed me because I'll tell you right now, I don't think about COVID like that. I don't. I'm so worried about the things I want to do when this is over that I don't actually have the time to sit there and think about it. Now, my prayers go out to all the people that have been affected by this, and it's sad. It really is. But this is how I found my balance, and I'm not sure how, and I'll get into that in the next half of this episode, but that's how I found my balance. I wrote down all the things that I want to do, and I've already talked about it, but I actually executed it. I try and go to sleep early. With Call of Duty, that's a little bit hard, but I also try and get up early so I can work out and then have my meetings and then contact people. And then when I'm done work at night, I try and do the things that I'm doing now. And like this video is actually being shot today because I just figured this out. I had to do all this yesterday, so I spent all day trying to figure it out, and I did. So that's the first half of the episode. That's why it's called balance. I realized that I need to find balance with everything, not just one thing, but with everything. So for me, it's my podcast, my gaming channel, my fitness, obviously, modeling when that's over, and then work. And I realize I'm balancing all these things, and it just feels really good. And I feel really happy, honestly. I really feel good. I have my moments where I get upset and irritated just like everybody else. But then I remember, okay, what am I going to do when this is over? Who am I going to be when this is over? Like my man Drake said, who are you going to be when this is all over? And I realized this is a time for everyone to rebalance themselves and figure out what they can do to change, right? So those of you on the video that are watching the actual video, on my app, on Anchor, which is what I record my podcast on for my phone, I have a sponsored segment for Anchor, and I'm actually going to play that for you guys right now. So we're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and we're going to get back to the second half of this episode. So, so for my video people, Anchor is the app that I use for my podcast. Anchor is free. It's free to listen to. It's free to download. It's free to create your own podcast. And the great thing about Anchor is, and this isn't a sponsored post on YouTube because I have 15 subscribers, so I'm not getting paid on this, and I'm not even going to get paid on the app itself. But it is a sponsorship, so I will, but not as much as you think. I have like a couple of cents. But this is where it's completely free. It's free to listen, like I said, free to listen, free to create a podcast. And the great thing about Anchor is that they will actually distribute, after your first episode, they will distribute your podcast to streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think Breaker is one of them. Google Podcasts. There's a whole bunch of other ones that it sends your podcast to. And then obviously, I have my social media accounts that I can copy the links that I can post on Snapchat and Instagram and things like that, right? But Anchor really is the best way. Two of my buddies actually use Anchor because the one podcast is all bark, no bite, and the other one's called The Growth Complex. You can look at them up. They have their stuff on Anchor, which help them translate that to other streaming platforms. So right now, I'm actually just making sure that this goes through because I need this for my sponsorship on Anchor. So bear with me 1 second, and that will be the great part about this. No, I'm not ready to publish yet. I have my sponsor segment in there, and that's what it's doing now. And balance part 1. And I'm breaking these down on the podcast because I have the sponsorship, so I have to do that. And it's processing right now. Hopefully, it will take another few seconds, and then we'll get back to the second half of this podcast. So those of you who don't know, I'm an Xbox person. Clearly, I actually just bought this controller because my black controller. I dropped I dropped it, and the left stick, it's broken a little. It's not broken, but the control, the character or whoever you're using, whatever game you're playing, the guy like starts slowly moving or looking up, and it's just really annoying trying to play a game and doing that. But yeah, right in the background, I just have YouTube. It just was on, and I realized when I was recording, I left it on. Have it here. But I don't really feel like turning it off because it adds like a nice touch to it. So, yeah, and now I'm going to let me see, save it, and then I'm going to. All right, now we are back in business. So, welcome back to the second half. Again, this is just for. Oh wow! I just dropped my pen on my laptop. This is for this. I break it down obviously for the second half for the audio listeners, and obviously for the visual. You guys saw I just talked about myself for the next like 2 minutes or so while I was getting that while they heard the sponsorship. So, all right, enough of that. Let's get into the second half of this episode, right? So, what does all this mean, right? What does all of this actually have to do with anything? And what does it have to do with my podcast, really, right? So the title, for those of you who don't know, those of you that are new, the title of this podcast, again, is called Nice Guys Do Not or Don't Finish Last. Or you can add Nice Girls for women, of course, or whatever you identify with, right? And I'm not going to get into that either. But what does all this mean, right? And I do this for every episode. The first half, I explain something about myself or why I'm doing something or whatever the case may be. And then the second half, I try and correlate it into the message. For those of you that are new here, the motto for my channel is "It's not you, it's them." Now, obviously, again, I say that, but there are things that you can change that are going to benefit your life. But at the end of the day, it's all about knowing who you are. That's the overall message. The overall message, again, is just staying true to yourself, being a nice person or nice guy, nice girl, whatever the case may be. And not even just nice, but just knowing yourself, you'll never lose. It might feel like you'll lose. You might, and we're all going to face setbacks. I'm going to face a setback too. But at the end of the day, we're never going to lose. Or it's just not going to happen. And we're not going to lose. And that's just the overall message. So what does balance have to do with that concept, right? If you don't have the balance, you're going to feel as if you're swaying, right? And when you sway, it's an uneasy feeling. To be honest, I get car sick. I get car sick when other people drive. I don't get car sick when I drive, obviously. And those of you who get car sick, you know. But I don't get sick with that. But it's that swaying motion, or people get car sick when it comes to, being on, not car sick, Christ. People get boat sick or motion sickness because they're swaying, or that motion of moving while they're stationary. It bothers them. It makes them feel nauseous, whatever the case may be. So when you think about it this way. If a calisthenics expert, right, is unbalanced or hasn't mastered his body weight balance, right? Do you think he's going to be as successful in his workouts? No, not really. You know what I mean? You're not going to be successful because you're not balanced. And that's what calisthenics really is. Mastering your body weight and being able to balance your body weight. It is really hot in here. And mastering your body weight, right? And that's important. But if you're unbalanced, you're going to struggle. And it's the same thing with your life, or life in general. Not with your life, but just life in general, right? If you're unbalanced, you're going to struggle in some areas. So think about it this way. If you're all about work, do you think your relationships are going to be balanced? No, not really. Now, we can all sit there and argue, okay, well, a lot of people only have a small group of friends, like I do. Yeah, of course. But if I balance work and stuff like that way more than I balance time to myself or hanging out with my friends or whatever, the people in my circle, well, then I'm going to suffer in that department. It's just how it goes, right? But obviously you have to sacrifice to get what you want, right? And that's just the nature of the game, right? But now, say you do the opposite. You don't balance work, but you're always hanging out with your friends and doing things you shouldn't really be doing, or you're wasting your time. Well, then your work's going to suffer, and then you're going to sit there and ask yourself, why are you not where you want to be? So the balance aspect, it has to be. It's just like whatever you believe in, whether you're religious or not religious or whatever higher power you believe in, or if you don't believe in whatever, it all has to be balanced. So, okay, people, and it's kind of a tough subject, but the universe or the creator, whatever the case may be, everything has to be balanced. So when there's good things that happen, there's a reason why we all face setbacks, is because it has to balance itself out, because it's going to teach us something, right? So you're going to face a setback. We're all going to face L's. We're all going to face those kinds of things that we humans have came up with, because the universe has to be balanced. If it was always bad or always good, it would be unbalanced and things wouldn't be as great as people think they would be, because that's not how this works. So if you're not balanced, you're missing something. Like, there's something that you're going to oversee. And luckily, I realized where I need to be balanced, and so I'm figuring it out. But there's some people that go their whole lives. Think about the people that are so successful and they're rich and they have all the nice cars and nice houses and they get all the attention, but then they forgot to focus on their relationships with their family or their friends. Those people aren't there anymore. So a lot of those people grow up and they look back and they say, wow, I feel like I'm missing something. That's because you're not balanced out. You're not balanced. So taking it back to calisthenics, if you're not balanced and mastering your body weight, you're not going to be successful. And then so for me, if I don't master the balance and all that kind of stuff with calisthenics, and my lifts, my actual lifts, like my squat and all that stuff, are going to suffer because I'm not balanced. And it's really important that we know this, because being balanced in all areas of your life, with pleasure, like friendships and socializing, your mental health, and then your physical health, that's all that you need. That, and emotional, I forgot about that one. So you need your emotional balance. You need to be in balance with your emotions, and in tune with them. First off, be in tune and then be balanced. So for me, people tend to say, Cam, you get angry a little bit. I'm like, I get angry and irritated because I care. And I'm sorry, and I know that I'm trying really hard not to curse. I haven't cursed once, but I'm going to say it now. It's because I give a shit. That's why I get angry. I have passion. That's why. But I also need to learn how to balance that emotion with my other things. I need to allow myself to be a little bit happier sometimes, or feel excitement, whatever the case may be, right? Balance your physical aspect of your life. Balance your social aspect and your work aspect. You got to balance all those things, because when it all comes together, you're gonna feel weightless, really. And it's boom. Okay, there we go. You're gonna feel weightless, and that's exactly how a lot of, if you look at calisthenics, those guys, it looks like they're feathers. Some of them weigh 100, 200 pounds, but they can move their body weight because they're so light, because they've mastered that balance. So, what can you do to feel balanced? It's just what I did, and I'm not sure what works for everybody else, but this is just what worked for me. I sat there and really just looked. I wrote things down and realized, like, why I do some of the things I do, or why I am the way that I am, or what elicits some sort of emotion or whatnot. That's what I did. And when I wrote all that down and went back, even from when I was younger to now, I said, okay, I need to address this. I need to address this, a little bit of that, but I'm good there. I'm good there. I'm good there. Oh, that's definitely noteworthy. And I wrote it all down, and then I wrote that to, and then I drew a line and crossed that over to what I want in my life. And I wrote down, okay, how am I going to achieve this? What do I have to do? Where do I have to start off? And that's when I realized that they're correlated, and that's how I did it. If there's another way for you, then that's how you do it. I'm not going to tell you. That's another thing I'm trying to do. Again, not being judgmental. I'm going to allow people to do what they need to do for themselves, and stop trying to tell people what they need to do. You know what I mean? That's just, I feel a lot better now. I feel a lot happier not trying to tell people what they need to do, because that's a flaw on my part. That was a flaw on mine. I need to be balanced with that. You know what I mean? So what can you do? You have to figure that out within yourself. I can't sit here and tell you that. Your family can't. Your friends can't. The world can't. You got to figure out for you. And I did. And again, it's going to be different for you. It's going to be different for me. But as long as you can figure that out, then that's great. And let me know, those of you that want to, contact me about this kind of thing. let me know what you did. We can share notes, bounce off ideas, things like that. I do that with a couple of my buddies. I actually was on the phone with my buddy Ro last night, and we were talking about some of this stuff. And it got me excited because we were really, really, really getting into it and talking about it. And it made me realize that I've come a long way, even from a month ago or even the last year. I thought that I was in a great spot then, and then like when I made my first podcast, and now I'm looking at myself now, and I'm like, wow, I'm still making progress, and that's all that really matters. And so, how does this relate to nice guys don't finish last? That really should be simple. I don't think I really need to explain it, but I'm going to anyway. Um, it relates to the premise of my podcast because if you can master all this balance, right? If you can do a handstand push-ups, weighted handstands, whatever the case may be, L sits, all that stuff, or you can learn how to balance your checkbook, or you can learn how to balance your work life with your social life, with the things you need to get done for your personal growth, your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. If you can learn on a balance, it seems like a lot, but when you really want that, it's going to be very effortless. And I realize there's a lot of the good people out, not good people, because I care about everyone. I'm a human being, and without other human beings, I wouldn't be here. So I care about everyone. But with that being said, my podcasts are for those people that feel like being themselves is not good enough. Because that's how I felt for a while. For those of you that are new here and don't know, that's how I felt for a while. And I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And, I went through some things in my life, but I'm good now. I'm not dead. So, that's great. But how does it relate? A lot of people feel like they can't be comfortable in their own skin, or, they have these really bad insecurities. We all have insecurities, and they'll always be there, but you can always work on them. I admit my insecurities. I know I have mine. I'm not going to admit them on camera because no. But I have them, and I'm working on them. But it relates to that because if you really just work on and focus on balancing yourself, no one can really tell you anything, and you're gonna feel weightless, and everything's just gonna become easier for you. Like for me, I'm trying to balance my stuff, so here we go. The COVID stuff isn't really bothering me, and that's not to say that it's not an issue, because it is. Stay inside, be sanitary, follow the rules so we can get out of here. To be honest, so I can get back in the gym. But it has an effect on my mental health because I've learned how to balance all this stuff. So for my motto, it's not you, it's them. If you have balance in you, looking at other people that aren't balanced, it's not gonna bother you. It's not gonna affect you. You're gonna be like, unless you have a superhero complex like I do, you're gonna sit there and try and help them, which is fine, but you can't force them to do anything either. So you know what I mean? You gotta be able to. You're gonna be able to just look at a situation or look at the things around you and say, okay, well, I'm balanced, and I'm not trying to be out of sync with myself or my rhythm or my balance or routine, and I'm not gonna allow that to happen. So this is what I'm gonna do, and that's how it relates, man. Like it's one of those things where it's when you balance yourself, when you learn how to balance yourself or balance your life, you're gonna love it. Balance it with things that you want to do. Now, there's obviously going to be times where you're things that you don't want to do. To be honest, yeah, I don't want to just sit here in the house all day and not be able to go to the gym. But right now, that's the only thing I have to do that. You know what I mean? Like we all have to do things we don't want to do. It's just how life is. But balance the things that you want to do. You know what I mean? I saw a post and it said, if you're working so hard about something you don't care about, that is called stress. If you're working on something that you care about, it's called passion. And I think about all those people that relate back to being a nice guy and finishing last. All of this stuff is gonna help you win at the end of the day. This stuff matters, and some people don't think it matters. I'm probably gonna get some dislikes on this video, but you know what? I don't really give a shit because I'm helping people, And that's really what I feel like I was put on this earth to do. So if you try and apply these concepts to your life, it's really, I think, again, I think it will really help you because we all got to be balanced at some point. We all got to be balanced creatures because that's how life is. If the universe is balanced, then we have to be balanced. Look at and just the next time you go out, or the next time you're on social media, whatever the case may be, look at people and you'll be able to tell, oh, they're not balanced somewhere. There's something that's off with them, or there's something that they don't like or enjoy, or something that's bothering them. You'll be able to figure it out, and then you can learn from that. Okay, not to do this or whatever. You know what I mean? But you'll be able to look at people differently and say, okay, I'm balanced, and I don't know if they are, so I don't know if I can allow them to interrupt what I have going on. And even the people that are in a better place, and there are people that are in a way better spot than I am, right? But then they lost that balance, and now they're sitting there trying to figure that out, and that might take them forever. And then they look back and say, "Wow, I just did all this for no reason." You know what I mean? So that's it's really important. So anyway, so that's going to conclude this episode. I try to keep it a little bit short. I was trying to keep it to 30 minutes, and it's at 40, 41. And well, it's around 41 for the video, and it's around 39 right now for the audio podcast. But I actually no, it actually is 40 because of the 2 minute. Yeah. So thank you. I can do math. I went to school. Thank you for coming out to this episode, and really thank you for watching this video. I know it's long, and not many people are going to want to watch a 40-minute video in someone's first podcast. But I'm actually going to include a snippet on my Instagram. So you can just, not a snippet, but maybe 30 to 45 seconds. I think that's how long Instagram will allow me to do it. Just to hear a piece of the podcast, and maybe that might attract you to come listen. You should just listen to it anyway, because I think I'm a really nice guy, and why not help me out? So again, thank you for coming out and listening to this episode. You can find for the audio people that are listening, you can find my podcast on Anchor. You can download the link. It's actually on my Instagram account. My Instagram account is niceguys_ finish last. Somebody else had the name, or it was taken, so I had to add the underscore, but it really means don't. Again, that's niceguys_ don't finish last. My personal Instagram is CMNG23. My Snapchat is CMNG23 as well. And I think that's really about it. You can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, I forget the other one. There's a couple others, but you can find them there. I have a Facebook page, same title as before, and that's where you can find all this stuff. And that's really about it. So like I said, thank you. Links will be in the description for the video, for the YouTube video. They'll be in the description, just along with the description of the episode that I'm filming now, so you can get a little gist of who I am. And I have to update my YouTube channel profile anyway. But you can find that stuff there. Thank you. Please share, email me, DM me on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the case may be. Please give me feedback for the video. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Thumbs down if you didn't like it. Either way, I'm going to receive the feedback, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I think I'm going to start doing my episodes every other week. I know I've said that before, and then I hopped to trying to do them every week. But then I started to realize two things. One, I don't want to give you guys all this information and stuff that I talked about and only give you 5 days to digest it, because you might really want to listen to it and listen to it and listen to it. And then if another episode comes out and you're listening to the previous one, you don't want to lose your track and get all the information jumbled. So I think I'm going to do it every other week. And the second reason why is because honestly, I just want to do it on my time. I kind of feel like if I do it every other week, it's going to feel forced. And I don't want to do that, because this is something I really want to take seriously, but also enjoy at the same time. So if it takes me a month, well, then it might take me a month. But if it takes me 2 weeks, as it should be, then we're on track. But I just wanted to say that because I know a lot of people have been wondering why it takes me like a month or two. So there you go. All right. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate that. Appreciate you listening. Be smart. Stay safe. This is all going to be over soon. Remember what I said, and nice guys don't finish last. It's not you, it is them, and yes, I have a go-to case. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next episode.